Tengku. So yesterday, Mars signed an MOU with Airbus to purchase 15 A330s with the option to buy another 10 later. So why did you guys choose Airbus and not Boeing?
We've chosen to buy up to 25 A330-300 aircraft. For this particular decision, it's a little bit different from how we normally approach decisions. For example, when we were looking at the 737-400 replacement, we issued requests for proposals to both Boeing and Airbus, and there was a full and normal competition between them, and in the end we decided to go for Boeing with their 737-800 aircraft. In this case, we are buying the new A330s. These are what Airbus calls the enhanced A330s. We already operate the A330s today in our fleet. So that is an aircraft that we're familiar with. And in the long term, we are looking at either the 787 or the 350, although we haven't really looked at the timing on that. So the A330 made a lot of sense for us because we're already familiar with the aircraft. In terms of if you were to switch to Boeing, the Boeing equivalent today would be the 767. And the adjustment process for us to go from the A330 to the 767 and then possibly later on again to another aircraft type operationally would have been quite difficult. So in this case, our pilots are already trained on the A330 aircraft. We already have spares for the A330. Our maintenance people are already very familiar with the aircraft. So it makes sense for us to continue to use the A330 within our fleet.
All right. This new A330, is it also more fuel efficient, hence ensuring better yields for you from us in future?
Yes, the new 330s does a lot of things for us. On the cost side, they are more fuel efficient than the current 330s that we have. The maintenance costs for this aircraft, again being newer, enhanced version of the A330, will also have lower maintenance costs. And another benefit it has is that it's also got longer range than our current A330s. So we are able to use the A330s on more missions than what we are currently able to do on the 330. So that allows us to optimize the cost of the A330 because the A330 is designed for medium haul and it actually has quite good economics. So being able to use the new A330 on more routes than what we can use the current A330 on will also help us to reduce costs.
I see.
Yeah, and on the revenue side, it will allow us to really upgrade the product that we have. The new A330 will have a much better product in the aircraft than what we have on the current A330. It gives us a good opportunity to refresh the product, give something that is more modern, that is much more cutting edge, and really give a much better experience for our customers. So we believe that will also help us on the revenue side. It will help us to sell more tickets, and it also does mean that we believe people will be willing to pay for the tickets.
I see. Okay, all right. So it is now Mars' strategy to no longer lease 100% of your planes. Can you tell us your strategy of your aircraft mix? Is going to be some leasing, some full acquisitions? What is it going to be like?
Yeah, after we did the WOW exercise in 2002, we basically moved to 100% operating lease fleet.
Right.
And that was the right thing for that time.
Yes.
However, we have been saying over the last few years that although operating leasing gives us a lot of flexibility, which is good, unless you intend to get out of the airline business completely, you don't really need flexibility for the entire fleet. Because when you do operating leasing, you have the flexibility of returning the aircraft if you don't need it.
Yes.
Of course, aircraft lessors take that risk, and they do charge you a premium for that risk.
Right.
So you are paying a premium for the flexibility, but we felt that it doesn't make sense to have flexibility for the entire fleet and pay the premium for the entire fleet. Even in the worst times, there will always be a core part of your fleet that you will continue to fly. Right. Even if you shrink the size of your network quite drastically, there will still be a core part of the airline that you will continue to use. So therefore, for that core part of the fleet, it doesn't make sense to pay a premium in order to have flexibility that you don't need.
Right.
So what we've said is that we are looking, going forward, to own 1/3 of the fleet. We will still continue to have operating leases for at least 1/3 of the fleet, because having flexibility is still good. And the other third, we will either own or we will either lease, depending on the situation at the time.
I see. Okay, all right. At the same time, you also we are bundling two B747s and two B777s. Can you tell us how much you expect to save from this exercise?
Yeah, all the four aircraft, the two 777s and the two 747 freighters, are operating today in our fleet.
Yes.
The two 777s that we are bundling in are the two newest 777s that we have on our fleet.
Okay.
And the two 747 freighters are also the two key freighters that we have that Mascargo is currently using.
Right.
So for us, these are aircraft that we believe will remain in our fleet for some time.
Okay.
And therefore are part of the core fleet.
Okay.
So again, as I said earlier, it doesn't make sense for us to pay a premium for the flexibility for part of the fleet that we believe will be with us for a long time. So that was one of the reasons why we've decided to bundle it in. It reduces our costs on an NPV basis. The savings from doing it are about 330 million.
This 330 million is throughout the 12-year leasing period?
Yes, throughout the leasing period.
I see. Okay, all right. What do you see prospects for Mars in 2010 in terms of passenger demand as well as on the company's earnings prospects?
Yeah, 2009 has been a tough year.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone will be sad to leave 2009.
Right.
I expect 2010 will be better, although I'm not so confident that, when we flick the switch into 2010 that everything will suddenly be good. I think there will still remain some form of uncertainty, particularly in the first half of 2010.
Yes.
However, I do believe that 2010 will be a better year than 2009.
Okay.
Whether it will be as good as 2008 or 2007 is quite debatable.
Yes, but do you think the heavy discountings of 2009 will continue?
I hope not. I hope not. I think what we've seen in the last few months is that seat factors have been very high.
Yes.
Not just for us, but for the industry as a whole.
Okay.
And that, I believe, will reduce the need for airlines to discount in order to fill up the seats.
I see.
Because what we saw is in the first half of 2009, seat factors were actually very low for the whole industry. So airlines have had to discount in order to attract customers. If anything, we've been too successful, and the main complaint we have is that people can't get seats. So as a result, there's really less requirement for people to discount. So I believe that yields will improve next year.
I see. Okay. Under your business turnaround plan, you are still targeting 1.5 billion to 3 billion in 2012. Do you think that's achievable, considering Mars will be still making a loss for this full year in 2009?
We don't change our targets halfway. So we are still aiming for actually 1 billion to 3 billion target profit by 2012.
Okay.
And all the things that we are doing, part of what we've announced with the fleet and so on, is part of the overall plan for us to try and achieve that target.
I see.
Of course, it's quite difficult to get those numbers in this economic environment.
Right.
But this is a plan. This is not a 1 year, 2 year plan. This is a plan up to 2012.
Yes.
2009 has been a tough year. We've had operating losses for the first 3 quarters of the year. Obviously, the fourth quarter we haven't finished, and we will not announce until February.
Okay.
But 2010, we're hoping will be a better year, particularly if the global economy starts coming back. Then we will see particularly the long-haul traffic start coming back, because that's been one of the areas which has been quite difficult, not just for us, but for all other airlines.